Welcome to the Explainer. We usually think we know exactly how an adventure story goes. A hero encounters some terrifying monster, draws a sword, and defeats the beast to save the day, right? It's the classic hero's journey. But today, we're going to deconstruct a beautifully illustrated children's flipbook called The Mystery of the Vanishing Shadows, and it is an absolutely incredible case study in narrative structure. Why? Because it completely breaks the mold. It sets up all those classic tropes of a monster hunting adventure, and then, well, it totally flips the script on us.
So let's dive right in with a philosophical question that really sits at the heart of this entire story. What if the monsters in the dark are just as scared as you are? This is the core concept we'll be unpacking today. By looking at the brilliant way this simple flipbook challenges our assumptions, we're going to see a story that beautifully flips traditional conflict right on its head. It asks us to look past our initial panic and question the true nature of the threats we think we're facing.
Section 1. Shadows over Sunvale, the perfect piece.
Look at how perfectly this paints a picture of absolute tranquility. We have the cheerful town of Sunvale, famously known for its bright mornings, calm evenings, fluttering colorful flags, and an atmosphere just filled with laughter. It's a literal utopia. And then we're introduced to our two young protagonists, Leo and Mira, standing right at the edge of this vibrant town, gazing out over those beautiful green hills. They are the absolute picture of innocence in a perfectly safe world.
But, as we know, every good story needs an inciting incident. The town's perfect peace is shattered when shadows begin to grow longer out beyond those green hills, and whispers of strange disappearances start spreading like wildfire. The tone shifts instantly from cheerful to incredibly ominous, and it's this creeping fear among the townspeople that actually calls our young heroes to action.
Section 2. Brave Kids Step Up, Two Different Views.
Now, this part brilliantly illustrates the difference between our two heroes. Notice what they each actually pay attention to. Leo notices that his neighbors are afraid. He's highly tuned into the human element of fear, wondering what could drastically change the mood of his cheerful town. Mira, on the other hand, notices that even the birds are flying away. She's observing the disruptions in nature, showing off a much broader environmental awareness. Both of them have incredibly brave hearts, but they're looking at the exact same problem through completely different lenses.
So the crucial takeaway here is how these differing perspectives translate into how they prepare for the journey ahead. Together, they decide to venture into the dark hills to solve this mystery. But just look at their packing list. They pack water and bread, sure, but then the text specifically highlights Leo's wooden sword and Mira's quick thinking. It is such a genius contrast. We've got the classic, combat-ready hero relying on traditional bravery, paired right alongside the modern, empathetic problem solver relying on intellect.
Section 3. Whispering Woods, a darker path.
Wow, notice the stark visual shift in the artwork right here. The bright open skies of Sunvale are completely gone. The path grows significantly darker, and as the text describes, twisted trees loom over them like spooky skeletons. The atmosphere is thick, it's claustrophobic, and it is purposely designed to put us, the reader, completely on edge.
And then, the suspense thickens with this incredibly creepy auditory warning. They hear a faint whisper in the dark. Go back, little ones. The shadows are not your friends. The narrative is purposely building up traditional horror expectations here. Everything in the text and the art is telling us that a dangerous, violent confrontation is just inevitable. The story is doing literally everything it can to make us think Leo's sword is going to be very, very necessary.
Section 4. Facing the Shadows, the threat revealed.
As the threat draws near, we once again see their differing instincts kick in. Leo grips his sword tightly, his voice trembling slightly as he bravely calls out, "Who's there?" He is directly challenging the threat, ready for a confrontation. But Mira? She is silently tracking the movement. She points to a group of swirling shadows moving through the trees. She isn't shouting, she's observing.
I mean, just look at this gorgeous atmospheric art. The shadows take the shapes of these strange, terrifying creatures with glowing eyes. They're hissing, they're growling, and they're circling the two friends. This is exactly what we were expecting, right? It looks just like a classic boss battle setup in a video game or a fantasy movie. The monsters surround our heroes, weapons are drawn, and a fight seems absolutely unavoidable.
And right here, this is the critical pivot point of the entire explainer. Leo attempts the standard fight or flight response, and he chooses fight.
He steps forward, swinging his wooden sword and shouting, "Leave us alone!" But then, Mira does something amazing. She physically interrupts the traditional hero trope. She quickly grabs Leo's arm to stop him, telling him, "Fighting won't help. We need to understand them."
Section 5. Empathy over fear. A different choice.
Consider the actual weight of this realization. Maybe they're not trying to hurt us. Maybe they're just lost and scared. This right here is the thesis of the entire story. Staring down hissing, growling monsters, this is the exact moment Mira chooses radical understanding over violence. She looks past that terrifying exterior and actively searches for an underlying vulnerability.
Notice Leo's reaction to this. He lowers his sword, looks at Mira and asks, "What do you mean?" His confusion perfectly mirrors our own as the audience. We were totally ready for a fight. By giving Leo this reaction, the story is actually winking at the expectations it just built up, making it the perfect setup for Mira to demonstrate her alternative solution.
Let's break down exactly how Mira executes this conflict resolution, because it's essentially a brilliant three-step empathy framework. Step 1, stop and observe. While Leo was swinging his sword, Mira noticed that the terrifying shadows were actually shivering. Step 2, ask a gentle question. Instead of shouting demands, she gently asks, "Are you cold?" to which a shadow slowly nods. And finally, step 3, offer a selfless solution. She takes off her own tunic to provide warmth. She systematically diffuses the tension just by identifying and addressing the root cause of the monster's behavior.
Section 6. A transformation, warmth and kindness.
As Mira wraps her tunic around the shivering shadow, it sighs softly. And this perfectly illustrates the power of leadership. Seeing Mira's success, Leo doesn't just stand there. He joins in. He takes off his own leather vest and gives it to another shadow, saying, "This will keep you warm too." It turns out emotional intelligence is contagious. By leading with empathy, Mira not only solves the immediate problem, but she teaches Leo how to engage in a collaborative, peaceful solution.
And the reward for this empathy is just a beautiful visual resolution. The dark, intimidating shadows don't just stop being scary, they physically transform. They become these magical, glowing creatures, bathed in warm, soft light. The terrifying threat is completely neutralized, not by the swing of a wooden sword, but by a simple, perceptive act of warmth and kindness. The mystery is solved, and Sunvale is safe once again.
Which leaves us with this final, powerful thought. How often do we fight what we don't understand instead of simply asking what it needs? This charming little flipbook starts as a simple adventure, but ends up delivering a profound masterclass in empathy and conflict resolution. It really challenges us to look at the monsters in our own lives, our own workplaces, or communities, and wonder if perhaps they aren't enemies to be fought, but just shivering shadows in need of a little warmth. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. I really hope it gave you a completely new perspective. Until next time, keep learning, keep questioning, and keep looking for the deeper story.
Welcome to The Explainer.